Saitama can do weird stuff like kicking away stuff that's not supposed to be solid, like can kick portals and crap. Imagine watching your anime or manga and you expect your favorite character to get stronger as the series goes by. Say watching Dragon Ball, for example. Can you imagine if Goku in this fight with Jackie Chan just said, let me just go Super Saiyan 3 in this arc? You know, like having superpowered forms in earlier arcs. Like, you know how there's a theme in Dragon Ball, the newer the arc, the newer the villain, stronger than the last arc's villain and stuff of that such. Can you imagine being in these earlier arcs and Goku had forms like Super Saiyan 3 in these earlier arcs? It would just be overkill. The arc would be too easy and he would pretty much be One Punch Man. That's kind of how One Punch Man in this universe is treated. I mean, he's a guy that's so strong that he has so much punching power and strength that his power is actually boring, and he gets annoyed at the fact when his fights end too easily. It's like a running gag, one punch. He gets annoyed at the fight ending so fast. And it's not like he has to face up against weak foes in his universe. His universe has a whole bunch of monsters and superhuman entities and stuff, but you're going to see as this video goes on, but let's get it. Imagine being labeled the One Punch Man. Saitama, apparently from the lore that we've been given so far, is apparently just a normal human like the rest of us in this weird anime world. He's a guy just like the rest of us in real life. He works a 9 to 5. Right here in this particular occasion, he was unemployed. He was job hunting, you know, normal stuff that us men got to do. He was rejected here because talking about how he got rejected by his job. I know you guys are probably not used to Saitama having actual hair. Due to him being in a strange anime world, even though he worked a job and stuff, his dream as a kid was to become a superhero, blow away typical villains like him in this particular situation, this crab villain. His dream was to destroy stereotypical villains with one punch. You see how they did that there, One Punch Man? This is pretty much how his origin started. His 3 years have passed. Since then, he trained so hard, he lost all his hair. He thought he'd die or lose his mind, finally managed to acquire an invincible power. He became the hero he always dreamed of being. And he's just a hero for a hobby. Matter of fact, the reason why he became so ridiculously strong, which you're going to see in this video, is from a gag type of training regimen. The secret of his strength, he did the same for 3 years straight. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats every day, and run 10 kilometers. Something us normal humans could easily do every day, and we still wouldn't get this strong. Nobody believes it because he's just built different. Every explanation on how Saitama got strong, none of it really gives us a clear reason on why he's strong. Like in this occasion, they say he removed his limiter or whatever because everything has a limit. They talk about it here, a limiter. No matter how much effort you put into, every living being has a limit to how much they can grow. Too much power brings burdens to the widow that creates issues that can become rampaging and mindless monsters. Explaining that that's why God created every living being with a range of growth that ensures their own sanity and survival. This growth restriction is called a limiter. But he pushed himself so far that he removed his limiter. A God that removed his limiter strong enough to blow away your whole ideology. There exists a God who obtained such power with no cause? No, he paid for it because of a bald head. Like right here, they talk about how the different characters and heroes or creatures can come in existence, right? But they talk about how Saitama's different. He's built different. An ordinary birth, an ordinary life, no special potential whatsoever, just an ordinary person. Through effort alone, he pried open the doors of his limits and broke his limiter. Like, that's the way they explain Saitama. He defies all comprehension. Beings from other planets even can sense immeasurable energy inside of him. He can't measure the limit. Like beings like Boros. Speaking of no limit, it's kind of confirmed later on in his series that Saitama can do some like Incredible Hulk type stuff to where being pushed hard enough, his power can increase at a crazy rate, which I'm going to go over later on in this video. There's this being that literally learned how to copy Saitama's abilities. And despite him being able to copy Saitama's abilities, it didn't really matter because Saitama's strength or power increase factor, especially when pushed to a certain level of emotion, can make him stronger faster than you can adapt. They made like a grid in the manga on how even though this guy literally has the ability to adapt to Saitama's strength, but Saitama's power was rising so fast he wouldn't be able to keep up and he's leaving him in the dust. It even gets to the point where simply copying Saitama's power is not enough unless you can copy his strength fast enough. Even saying his punches would eventually kill me. They explain what I literally just said, his growth rate, which had gone unnoticed by anyone since there was nobody remotely on par with his strength, it suddenly began to soar exponentially. So one could say he can do some Incredible Hulk stuff with enough rage. He can increase even faster than somebody that has his abilities or copying his abilities can adapt. To where it gets so crazy to the point where, yep, even he starts becoming a joke to his might. Yeah, this guy literally copied Saitama. Like you see his face. But yeah, don't get it twisted. I'm going to go over this a lot in this video later on as well. I'm going to re-mention this again later. to really show his might. But here's the thing about his world he's in. Yeah, he's ridiculously strong, but he's in a world with a whole bunch of ridiculously strong people, or monsters, or mysterious beings, or one could call it monsters, or one could call them mysterious beings in the One Punch Man universe. Vary in the way they look and the different abilities they have, but the weird part is that you can actually become a monster in this universe even if you're a human, whether it be scientific stuff or just become a monster via stupid, goofy stuff, becoming a crab man, because by eating so many crabs that he suddenly underwent a metamorphosis. Like, wait, what? Or there's beings that remind me of Piccolo from Dragon Ball. Yeah, look at the way he looks. Who was spawned by the continuous pollution of Earth caused by the filthy humans. A vaccine man. A being that's apparently the wrath of Mother Nature itself. Not only can you become superhuman or become a monster in wonky ways, but you can become super powerful just from drugs, scientific type of studies and stuff of that sort. Like in this occasion, super soldier serum, one could say. And it pretty much makes you look like the colossal titan. You know what? Let me stop. Yeah, all kinds of ways you become superhuman. Greatest mind and the strongest body in this situation. Monsters are beings that can become as big as buildings and stuff. I mean, he's so strong throughout his thing, he actually starts hanging out with a whole bunch of top level heroes. I mean, everybody's trying to be like him. He's that guy. Just like any universe, there's tiers. One Punch Man has their own set tiers of power in the One Punch Man universe. Just like how in real life, nobody's created equal. There's different tiers in real life. There's different tiers in this universe. They're talking about the different beings, threat levels and stuff, or monsters and stuff of that sort. They explain on how they're a threat to different things, like how God is a threat to humanity, a dragon is a threat to multiple cities, demon is a threat to a whole city. That's how the tiering works. Heck, they even have their own hero association tiers. Yeah, it's a legit organization that has their own buildings, or one could say headquarters. They even have meeting rooms where a group of heroes get together to figure out how to neutralize certain threats. Saitama wants to rise through the ranks, quite obviously. They explain their universe as monsters and mysterious creatures like this. They say humans can become monsters due to desire to transform into something else through their bad habits, or a burst of dissatisfied frustration. They begin transformation due to their environment that causes an anomaly in their cells, while others made through the power of chemicals, like with research, scientific stuff. And then there's additional non-human life forms that can become monsters due to pollution. They become different beings. In the One Punch Man, you either become a strong human or a strong monster. Humans that have this kind of potential become heroes, and they can unlock their full potential via training, through their talent or hard work. Other obtain their abilities through mechanizing their body through human experimentation, like cyborgs and stuff. There are some that are born to be a genius with intellect. Just like Saitama wants to be a hero, he joins the hero organization. They have to do like a fit test to see where he ranks among everybody. And doing the fit test, he pretty much can do everything they wanted. Vertical jump, lifting heavy, and his results. In the written test, he was trash, aka intellectual stuff. In nearly every physical test, he surpassed every previous record that they had. His show may be called One Punch Man, but he's actually ridiculously strong in other aspects, like lifting a lot of weight, for example. When it comes to his strength and might, when it comes to his evolution, one can say right here, one could say he actually was a limited being until he went through his limiter removal thingy and became like this, to where he removed his limiter and got unparalleled power and might. I mean, you technically got occasions like this before his training. He was pretty fast enough to save this kid from this crab entity. And there's occasions like this where you can actually see blood come from his mouth or body. Like, he was limited here still. This before he removed his limiter, but still, he was still strong enough to do this to this crab being. But when he was still in this phase during his training, we get to see some flashbacks of his strength during training. Like, this is back when he still had hair, so you know he was still in the process of getting stronger in training. This is one of the many people he have saved over the years. He indented the car like that with his strength. Monsters like this he defeated even in the younger days during training when he had hair. Even back in these limited days, he could still punch through walls. There was this entity that was a threat level of a demon. You guys already know demons are a threat to a whole city. Saitama, when he wasn't even fully known as Saitama yet, punched the mess out of a demon level threat with ease, like out of my way. Apparently, Saitama said before he started training, he couldn't even beat a wolf level or whatever. He surpassed his limiters or whatever. But when we do talk about his bald head self, he can actually use chopsticks to throw grown folk through walls, hold your entire weight with chopsticks. Strong fighter super beings, he can hold them back with ease. Moves this tree in a way to stop this car from falling. Places that are locked up, he can rip the doors open. Yeah, he's not a fan of doors. He will happily run up to doors and run through them. And vehicles he can lift up with ease. All this rubble he can hold with one leg. Can pick up entire buildings like his apartment, for example. Let's talk about how hard he can obviously punch, because he's One Punch Man, right? The mere shockwaves of his punches, without even necessarily directly connecting, can knock all your clothes off. Like, it's a legit running gag. When characters try to pull up on him, they get curb stomped. It's kind of hilarious because some of these characters, they build up to be such strong fighters and stuff, but when they pull up on Saitama, they look like a joke. These subterraneans get murked. This being, he curb stomps. It's just a common theme at this point. And a whole bunch of walls, he just punches through them. Assassins get curb stomped. Kicking through walls, duh. When he's put in a pit with a whole bunch of demon ranked monsters, despite them being pretty high ranked. I already told you guys this is a running gag. They all get obliterated. He's the One Punch Man. Considering that in the lore of One Punch Man, Demon Threat is a threat to a whole city, and he messed up multiple of them. You know what I mean? Look at the size of these bots. They're supposed to be intimidating, but are they really intimidating now? Saitama, you're just weak in comparison. Light work, they've been talking about it here. He messed them all up. Level 4, level 7, level 9, level 10. This is shocking. His complete defense system was destroyed. Hydra-like creatures. Y'all heads get messed up. Having strength in numbers isn't really a thing for Saitama. Huge looking wolf threat level being, that's obviously easy to him. You got giant spiders looking craps you can obliterate, trying to figure out what drink, and you can see how fodder these beings are to him. You think eating him is going to give you the edge? Get murked. Hope you guys ain't getting bored of all this fodder he's treating these beings like. Lion-looking beasts like this, who look pretty strong and intimidating. Consecutive normal punches obliterates him of just fodderizing being and making him sleepy. First of all, it's pretty obvious he can level a city because he can obliterate a giant meteor with one punch. A big reason on why punching through this meteor was impressive is because it was literally stated the meteor was 200 meters wide. Imagine a meteor being as wide as certain buildings are tall. So obviously the meteor would even be bigger than this because this is this tall. The meteor itself was this wide. You see what I mean? And Saitama can punch through that, you see? Does anybody have any doubts that he can level a mountain, though? Mountains or multiple mountains? We've seen him punch beings through several mountains. I mean, that's just something he should be able to do. That's obvious, right? So he can obviously level mountains from collateral of his punches. Whatever his punches can produce, his body can withstand it. His body never gets injured from the output of his punches. His body can handle the recoil because when he gets hit with attack, like against this being like Garo, they literally can level the mountain. His body can withstand going through all this. Yeah, and he's fine after impacts. That I think we all can agree that are way more powerful than mountain shattering. No damage taken. Like, he's literally getting hit by being. Kind of shows that his body can withstand the same amount he can hit. Because here, they hit him. This guy hits him so hard and blows away the mountain behind him. They even said the mountain shattered in the panels. So it's not my opinion. He says, get off me. No damage. Confirmed he's tougher than a mountain. It's an oversimplification saying this is mountain busting right here, right? This has to be more than the city shattering or even higher than that because the ripples of these attacks was so crazy that Saitama withstood that they can be felt on the other side of the world. All of this can be felt way down here on the other side of the planet, guys. He withstood all of this. And Saitama said right after that, right, get off of me, to show his punching power and durability. That's when you see the panel of him proceeding to punch him through mountains. I'm going to get into this fight a lot in this video. Just getting that in your head. His attacks that Saitama can withstand are like nuclear bombs. Basically, he can withstand it. They even say a nuclear attack. They're not exaggerating. This is massive. And Saitama's fine from it. But I'm going to get back to this in a second. Speaking of city shattering stuff, it's obvious his punches can blow apart a city if he felt like it. I already showed you him fighting an opponent that can produce nuclear bombs and stuff, and he can match him and overpower him. There's telekinetic beings in the One Punch Man universe that have their own set of abilities and destructive power in the lore. They are what you would call psionic beings. Tatsumaki's one of them. She can damage Boro's spaceship, which was massive. She has immense energy that has overwhelming destructive force. They state, I don't know if they're meaning this literally, but they say she can shake the earth. In this same panel, they even mention this again, shake the very earth. Despite her being ridiculously powerful, I'll just give you these panels right quick to give you a quick example of Tatsumaki's might when it comes to her psionic ability. They even say, is her power limitless? They say, the map of City Z is warping. They said it's a technical glitch. No, it's not a glitch. The city was being twisted itself. Beings that can twist cities, Tatsumaki, has this kind of destructive power. Despite all of this destructive power, when she's put up against Saitama One Punch Man, just to prove how Saitama's superior, He just stood there. She was attacking him with her power, over dragging his face through concrete, doing all this mess. He withstood all of this, and he trolls her saying, feel free to rampage again. He simply says, go all out, I'm not scared. So she gets triggered and starts obliging. He's fasting to dodge her attacks when he feels like it. You can see how destructive her attacks are. Yeah, she's pretty destructive, can level multiple cities easily. And he's effortlessly unharmed. Whatever she can do when it comes to power output, he can do better. I don't know how Saitama's doing this, but somehow, even though he doesn't weigh that much, she can barely move him. Talking about he's heavy. How is he heavy when she can move cities? You know what I mean? She's moving with enough force to blow him to outer space. One could say this is gag or toon force or something. He's literally not phased. She's very annoyed that he's unbeatable. We've seen Saitama produce punches that do this to a whole bunch of clouds throughout the planets. Saitama fought this super powerful being known as Boros, an alien from outer space who was ridiculously strong. A being that was going to produce energy to wipe out the Earth's surface, you know, the One Punch Man Earth's surface. His finishing move stated here he was going all out, and I believed him based on the stuff we've seen him do and weaker beings do. His attack was called Collapsing Star Roaring Cannon. He was able to punch this attack back with his serious punch. And this is what the collateral looked doing all of this. In the panel, like we can see the curve of the planet, right? You put it on top of our planet to see how the curvature would look in comparison. He really did affect a big chunk of the planet with the shockwave of his blows from Boros' attack. So some folks calculated this power or strength of him to be able to split these clouds like this online. They've calculated this to be able to be the equivalent of him having the power to delete multiple continents with his raw punching power output. Saitama's punches can basically rip him apart when he does normal punches. Let you know how hard he can hit, messing up Boros. And he was still holding back though. He didn't even phase him. Statements like this would be taken as an exaggeration without the visual proof if we haven't seen Saitama do or withstand crazy stuff like being hit to the moon by this being known as Boros hit him that far. And Saitama had the strength to jump back, made a ridiculously large crater on the moon that can be seen from outer space. Look how big of the crater Saitama left from the moon when he leapt back to Earth. The fact he can do stuff like this, and the fact Boros said he was gonna wipe out the surface, and he punched it back, making a big old cloud shockwave that covered a big chunk of the planet, that kind of stuff adds up with the lore and writer intent. I mean, if we was to put this in real life perspective type stuff with that crater from the moon, it would definitely make sense for him to be able to level an entire continent or multiple continents. Him having the power to shake multiple continents or level continents makes sense at this point. I mean, everything we've seen him do so far is not him even trying his hardest. Saitama has fought some wonky beings like the incarnation of the ocean, Mother Ocean itself. This tectonic cataclysm, despite this being the incarnation of the ocean type entity, Saitama said, I don't care. You get punched ridiculously hard with a serious punch and you get basically murked. Yep, Saitama's strong enough to punch water away. The dragon level threat, a being that's a threat for multiple cities, Saitama can take on. Remember earlier in the video I talked about how the different threat levels in the One Punch Man universe, you got this being known as the Elder Centipede is a dragon level disaster threat, and you remember the grid on how a dragon level threat is a threat to multiple cities. This kind of adds up with Saitama's lore being able to level cities with his raw power output because he can mess up dragon level threats, beings that are a threat for multiple cities, and he can one-shot this Elder Centipede being with low difficulty, serious punch of course, something that's a threat to multiple cities. Yeah, he treats like this. It's that simple. There was this being that Saitama had to face that was going to use his full power from the start. He said he's going to pull the energy from the earth itself to strike him with it. He's a dragon level plus level threat at least. And it's quite literal when they say that. And this being can cause an earth-wide earthquake. The epicenter of the earthquake is making its way to the surface. Like what? Like you can tell this is some craziness this being can produce. Saitama just literally trolling, trying to enjoy a bath, or one could say a jacuzzi. Yeah, gaggy type stuff. And he's simply trolling this being, even though this being caused an earth-wide earthquake. The epicenter is literally moving from the center of the planet. Everyone can feel this earthquake. They even say it's not a normal earthquake. This being tries to blast Saitama with his cannon. He literally says he makes a serious squirt gun and overpowers this being with ease. One punch style. This right here really proves he could, if he really wanted to punch apart continents with one hit, he could definitely delete continents if he was like really try to. There's a lot of monsters in the Monster Association, but the stronger you get, the less of them there are. Like, you guys already know how I mentioned like 2 seconds ago about this being known as Orochi being strong enough to manipulate the core of the earth and stuff and use that power against Saitama and stuff. Tell me why there's another being on this level that's at the top of the food chain of this monster Association. It's this being known as Psychos in the organization. A being that's also inferior to Saitama in every way when she merged with Orochi, was able to produce blast power that can split big chunks of the earth. Like, you guys get the idea at this point. This is definitely some continent splitting stuff. And she's nowhere near, even while fused, nowhere near the level of Saitama when it comes to power output. Remember earlier how I brought up Tatsumaki? This same being that can slice continents apart on the planet or slice them in half. Beings like Tatsumaki can nullify those attacks with her raw, destructive output with her telekinetic psionic ability. Might I like to mention she can overpower this said monster that can slice continents, warp cities themselves. Tatsumaki can obliterate beings like this on a cellular level. Not only is Saitama durable enough to withstand acid type, hexy type, temperature, burning sensations and stuff, but he can punch tentacles of this same being that can slice pieces of a continent and stuff of that sort with his punching power. Someone that was also contained in Tatsumaki. So it's pretty obvious that Saitama is above both these beings. Tatsumaki literally can't make Saitama let go of her arm. As powerful as she is, overpowering an Orochi, Psychos, monster leader fusion being, Saitama still trolls her and he's too mighty against her. It's the same with Tatsumaki's sister, who can also do psionic, telekinetic stuff. He gets hit with all this debris from her, blasting him. He doesn't seem to care. I don't know why she keeps trying like that's going to make a difference. Like, Tatsumaki's one of the top tiers of the verse. She be blasting Saitama. He makes her mad by saying it's no different than your sister's, your telekinetic ability, really. And she blasts him with this much impact, and he's enduring it. He can withstand her full power. He's literally standing there, withstanding her blast that are collapsing buildings like it ain't no big deal. And she's wondering, how long can you handle it? He simply says, if you're going to do all this destruction to people's houses, let's do this somewhere else. Saitama, you really consider it. And this is the scene where she couldn't make Saitama let go, showing his power over her. So yeah, he's definitely above her. He can overpower anything Tatsumaki or her sister put out. Like this technique, he just punches through. Punch apart the moon if he wanted to. I mean, at this point, we still haven't really seen him go that hard yet. I mean, you got to remember what he did just from simply jumping back to Earth, making a crater that big that could be visible from Earth that far away. He made a gigantic crater just from jumping. So imagine if he actually tried to punch the moon apart, he could definitely do it. I mean, why wouldn't he be able to level the moon if later events that I'm going to show you later on in the video, if he gets mad enough, one of his Killer Moves series, he can do a table flip and cause collateral on the scale of some moon destructive planetoid type stuff. So it's obvious he could destroy the moon, right? With that kind of strength. Apparently has a similar size to our moon, apparently. So yeah, Saitama caused catastrophic destruction on a different moon, Jupiter's moon, like Lo, that is a similar size to our moon, apparently, right? He can definitely destroy the moon if he felt like it, right? Here comes the moment you all been waiting for. Saitama literally stated out his own mouth that he could destroy the entire planet if he wanted to, so it's evidence right there in the universe lore. Just to start it off, Saitama fought this being, Goro, for an extended amount of time that was emitting cosmic radiation that humans couldn't withstand, but Saitama could withstand. Yeah, Saitama's fought an opponent like this ridiculously powerful being who has strange abilities, like similar to this guy's ability, talking about how Bang's water stream rock smashing fist takes knowledge of the flow of energy behind raging currents and tidal wave surges and recreates these within one's body. Putting this into your fist is the secret. This being that I'm about to go over against Saitama that really shows how strong Saitama is, Garo's ability instantly absorbs and copy any technique. Is also an extension of that flow, that same flow up here. It's the same extension of it. But now this being has gained knowledge of flow of all energy and the behavior of all forces in the universe, looking like eternity from Marvel here, looking like a literal cosmic being, looking like. I brought this being up earlier when I showed the nuclear fusion type of hits. His punches can cause nuclear bombs, but this is really the tip of the iceberg, if I'm being honest. This being's ability was so busted to where they explain it here. In martial arts, there are secret techniques that borrow the power of nature by imitating the movements of living things, though I call them modes, which sounds cooler. For example, how's this one? He literally does Saitama mode, like to do his own techniques against Saitama. Saitama has to match it with his power, causing this kind of collateral to one another. Yo, this dude did an all-life eradication fist. Gamma ray burst attack, like one could say he made his own black hole to produce energy like this. Saitama had to withstand this. They explain it like a gamma ray burst is an explosion that occurs at the end of the life of a massive star and is the largest and most powerful explosion phenomenon that has ever been confirmed in the universe. One can say planet busting plus level energies Saitama can withstand, and Saitama gets right back up after this mess. All this stuff put together, it's literally stated on panel that they can destroy the Earth with that power. So if you had your doubts, it's literally confirmed. It's not opinionated. It was such a threat, writer intent-wise, that they had to direct the destructive energy away from the planet because the power was so many times past earth-shattering. So yeah, it's straight up stated on panel that he at least has the raw punching power to destroy the entire planet Earth. I think we all knew this was coming, right? Okay, so you might not know this, but other planets have their own moons in our solar system. Like even Jupiter has its own moon, like Lo. Let's get into it. Saitama and him got knocked to a moon, Jupiter's moon. So you already know Saitama can do a table flip with one arm and cause catastrophic destruction to one of Jupiter's moons, Lo, right? But what if I told you it gets worse? When he reaches such a high level of power and gets bored, he can produce powerful sneezes that are so strong that they call it the serious sneeze. It can blow away a big chunk of Jupiter itself. Bruh, are you serious? In the One Punch Man universe, Jupiter is anything like our real life Jupiter. He blew away something that makes Earth look like a joke when it comes to size comparison. Blew away all this surroundings of Jupiter. Even if you was to blow away a little piece of it, that would still be bigger than the Earth. But the fact he blew away a big chunk of it around the core lets you know he's way past planet-shattering level if his sneezes can produce this kind of energy. I think we all can agree whatever his sneezes can do, his punches and everything else can do better. He could definitely delete large planets way past earth-shattering levels at this point when it comes to his punching power. And if you think this is insane, one of his killer moves, Serious Series, his punch was so crazy. This is basically like two Saitamas punching, one could say, and their energy they were producing because he's copying Saitama in his state. So one could say two Saitama's fists are clashing. Their punch obviously was going to destroy the Earth, but it's even worse than that. This energy, this being had to literally divert their power, Serious Punch squared, the energy they was producing from this punch. He had to at least alter the destructive energy away from the Earth. The blast that got diverted, the energy they produced, it flung them away, but it also did all this. One could say hundreds, thousands, millions, one could say even millions of stars. One could say they leveled a couple of solar systems, or one could say even a galaxy or a couple galaxies. So one can say when he's pissed off enough due to his power evolution, it would be incredibly disrespectful to say he can only level one solar system when you literally see a whole bunch of stars get wiped from existence. So, but this is a bare minimum. He can level multiple planets with a punch or a Serious Punch squared, or one could say blow away one solar system at least. But realistically, one could even say he can level a galaxy or two with a Serious Punch squared, clashing with another being that's copying his strength, punching power. Even if you're in denial and say he can't level a galaxy, he has to be able to blow away multiple solar systems with his punches. It wouldn't make sense if he couldn't level multiple, considering how many stars he blew away with him clashing with a punch that's similar to himself. Super mad and stuff. His punches can blow away multiple suns. I'm talking about a lot of suns. I think it's confirmed he can punch away multiple solar systems no matter what you try to deny. Matter of fact, you know you're strong when somebody that can copy your abilities gets desperate and it's like, who is this monster? I can't beat him. Oh, that's it, the sun. I can melt him in the sun, he thinks. Nope. He thinks that's gonna cut it. He said that was a nifty move. He's trolling him. Like, that ain't gonna cut it. And he can just punch you. You're probably thinking battlefield removal is a good way because he can't fly, right? He farted his way to get him momentum to come back. That's insane. Even though this feat right here is tough to quantify, I do believe there's a great chance it could be that they leveled multiple galaxies, with that being on the higher end of, the lower end being no lower than multiple solar systems they level. Just because of the way he's written, it kind of does add up. One can say he could reach punching power levels with enough emotion that can level multiple galaxies, higher end, multiple solar systems, bare minimum, you know? Scans like this also imply he can withstand star explosions and stuff the way they describe a gamma ray burst. I mean, his punching power feats gets crazy where you can't even measure it. This dude can punch into spiritual places that you're not really supposed to exist. Like, it's even stated here, what the heck are you doing here? This is a spiritual space, but he was able to hear it and get in there somehow when it comes to raw reaction and fighting speed. There's a few characters that can move way faster than the eye can see. One can say can even make after images, and they try to blitz Saitama. Saitama says, let me mimic that same move with his own speed, moving sideways stupidly fast. Insane. Even shocks him despite him being this fast. Confirm that he's faster than him by a large mile. When he's completely caught off guard, surprise attacks, defenseless, moving as fast as they can, still can't hit him, and he still dodged it. 2 freaking fast. He runs away from Saitama, and Saitama says, let me keep up with you and run with you. There's plenty of occasions of him proving he has combat, reflexes, fighting speed. These are not like the clearest feats when it comes to fighting speed, but it's pretty obvious that he's way faster than bullets, way faster than supersonic. One could say at least in the hypersonic speeds, reaction time wise, even when people spamming a whole bunch of punches, he's casually deflecting all of it with his own fighting speed, going across the whole place. A good way to understand Saitama's minimum speed, even though we don't really know his limits, is to compare him to beings like that we've seen him fought a lot, like Garo. In the past, Garo has the speed. I like when manga panels actually put the time on the clock to see how fast these beings are fighting. And they're fighting so fast they was able to do all of this. Notice how the time changed. Notice how the time looks right here. They're creating all of this in that short amount of time. Yeah, Jupiter has its own moon, by the way. Like I've already mentioned, the manga panels imply faster than light combat. Well, at least way faster than I can see, duh. Because we've seen displays of speed like this, looking like he's everywhere at once with speed. Yeah. Even stated after images, it just gets bizarre. Like they're literally dashing all across the moon, like zigzagging across it with ridiculous speed. This definitely implies faster than the speed of light. Speed, they're traveling all over this moon this fast. It's like they're everywhere on this moon. All he's doing is darting back and forth between the rocks at crazy speed, blitzing them. To give you guys an understanding of what I'm talking about, they was able to make all these zigzags in 1 millisecond, covered a lot of distance in a millisecond, zigzagging across the place, beings that Saitama has to be able to compete with in speed, you know, or faster. You see what I'm saying? Not to mention the Saitama can increase in speed. You get the idea. Not to mention, one could make an argument that based on the fact that he was in the sun and he was able to move out of the sun fast enough, one could say that could be massively faster than light or faster than light type speeds, be able to move out of the sun and move some considerable distance after that. It's one of those techniques that he didn't learn permanently. It's one of the things we can say a temporary learned technique he learned from this being. It's funny that Saitama can adapt so good. He's good at copying stuff so good that even this being, for example, stated that you should probably be able to do this technique better than I could ever do, despite Saitama never doing this. Stated here, if anyone can master the power of God without taking God's hand, it's you. Concentrate. He does. The two of them were imagining their own universes, their own inner universes. Particles and antiparticles generate in pairs by Garo's intense cosmic rays. Each subatomic particle began moving in opposite directions to begin to imitate each other's movements. When all of the subatomic particles inside Saitama did this, now Saitama get going and defeat himself. Defeat that bad future, he says, traveling back in time. This is where the craziness happens. He even compliments saying, wow, your martial art, it's crazy. Your martial arts can teach you how to go through time. Like, that's crazy. But, God level disaster, the ominous future. Saitama punches him. This is like way earlier in the fight before this punch landed before it was thrown. Reverse casualty, absolute unavoidable, but 0 punches to finish the battle. Talking about 1 punch finished the battle. And that's when 2 versions of him merged together. And this pretty much was like a retcon. Saitama don't even remember fighting. Saitama doesn't remember blowing away Jupiter with a sneeze. That whole fight is out of his mind, but 2 versions of him did merge to become 1, so it can't be 2 Saitamas in history, of course. But yeah, it's proven that it did happen because it was a glimpse into the future. The memories went across space-time. He pretty much explains the multiverse theory on how he transcended space and time to save him and stuff. Manipulating the laws of causality. Saitama ain't really trying to hear all that scientific stuff. Yeah, he doesn't remember none of it, but yeah, it happened. Sensei leapt through even time and space to save everyone, to save the world. Yeah, you gotta respect Saitama. He's pretty crazy. How strong do you think he could get with enough rage or if pushed? Since we kind of know the secret, his power kind of relies with a power increase factor. His power can adapt or go up as the battle goes on. If pushed hard enough, it can skyrocket at a faster rate than somebody can even copy it. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts on Saitama. How strong do you think he can get? But before I get going, I gotta say, thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. You respect the One Punch Man, Saitama? You have to after this. Hope you guys are enjoying this anime raid. Let's get it. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.